Welcome back. Uh, if you recall, we were discussing for quite a few lectures, we have gone through different principles of thermodynamics, first law, second law, exergy, exergy balance and then second law efficiency. All these are very useful concept and they are having practical implications when we will analyze the cycles which are engineering cycles for either for power generation or for production of low temperature. We will see how these principles can be guiding principles for designing a good cycle, for designing some sort of a system which can derive maximum out of the available energy. So, first I would like to start with power cycle, because the power cycles have got lot of potentials for producing waste heat. So, if we study power cycles very well, then probably we can modify the cycle so that waste heat production can be reduced. That is one aspect of it. Another, that let us say there is production of waste heat, generation of waste heat. With the help of a suitable power cycle, we can convert that waste heat into useful work, into mechanical work or electrical work. So, that is also very important. So, for these two aspects we need to study or we need to have a recap of the power cycles very quickly, particularly relating it to the thermodynamic principles which we have learned for the last few lectures. So, as the topic of the present lecture or cornerstone of the present lecture is important power cycles a relook. Power cycle means we are taking thermal energy and converting it into mechanical work. So, whenever we talk about power cycle, immediately the name comes to our mind is the Carnot cycle. So, Carnot cycle is a reversible cycle, and if two temperatures, that means T max and T mean are given, then the maximum amount of conversion from thermal energy to useful work is possible with the help of a Carnot cycle. So, reversible or ideal cycle maximum conversion of work from heat is possible. So, that is why it is so very important. It needs to be kept in mind that Carnot cycle is not the only reversible cycle, there are many reversible cycle. Then why do we talk so much regarding Carnot cycle? Because in Carnot cycle the entire thermal energy is supplied to the cycle. All of the thermal energy which has to be supplied to the cycle is supplied to the cycle at the maximum cycle temperature. So, if I write QH is supplied at T max and QL is rejected at T min. So, the heat which has to be rejected, that is also rejected at the minimum cycle temperature. So, that is the speciality of a Carnot cycle, and that is why it is giving the best performance, but we have to keep it in mind that there are other reversible cycles also. Other reversible cycles are equally important. Why? Because we will find, of course, we will not have the scope to discuss it in details. In any thermodynamics, any book of thermodynamics, these things are discussed at length, that practical realization of Carnot cycle is very difficult. So, that is why we have to think of other reversible cycles which are different from the operation of Carnot cycle, but which can be practically employed, or those can be taken as ideal cycle for many of the practical cycles. So, with this in mind, let us proceed. Now, again the efficiency of Carnot cycle, that is given by, if QH amount of heat is taken, then the maximum work can be done by a Carnot cycle, and that is given by, for QH, this is given by W is equal to QH into, I am writing first law efficiency, 1 minus TL by TH. This is the efficiency, and the efficiency of a Carnot cycle can be increased by either by increasing the maximum temperature of the cycle or by minimizing, lowering the minimum temperature of the cycle. So, if I have to derive maximum amount of work from a Carnot cycle, so either I have to increase the highest cycle temperature, or I have to decrease the lowest cycle temperature. So, this, whether we use Carnot cycle or not, this can be used as a guideline for designing or selecting a cycle. All right. Now, what is TL and TH? TL is where the heat can be dumped, and for all practical purposes it is the temperature of the environment or ambient. Now, from place to place this may vary, but this is more or less fixed. We do not have much of a flexibility in selecting TL, that is the temperature of the surroundings. TH, from where we derive the heat or we extract the heat. Now, that will depend on the source. So, this will have one value if we use, let us say, a low grade coal. If we use some sort of a nuclear reactor, TH will have a different value. If we use a high grade fuel, let us say oil, we may have another value which is different from the first two. So, it is always our lookout that we will try to increase TH and lower TL, which of course is limited by the temperature of the environment. So, let us say this is a thermodynamic plane. Let us say we have taken some coordinates which are T and S. So, a Carnot cycle like this, that will be very useful. So, here what we are having is T L, that is your T ambient, close to T ambient, and then this T max I want to increase. This side there is a limitation. So, I want to increase T max. Now, in many cases there are sources where Tmax could be high, but the problem is in practical cycle we have to have some sort of a working fluid, some sort of a working principle. So, for a very large temperature difference, Tmax is very large, TL is low, with a single cycle we cannot have efficient conversion of thermal energy. So, what we can do conceptually, then one can do like this, we can take a number of cycles. I have shown 3 cycles over here notionally. So, what is done? The topmost cycle, which is called topping cycle, generally it is called topping cycle. Then we have got some intermediate cycle, and then we have got a bottoming cycle. Now, the topmost cycle, that will take thermal energy from a source, from Tmax it will take, it will convert part of it into work, let us say this is W1, then it will reject heat which will be taken by the intermediate cycle, it will convert part of it into work, that is W2, and then it will reject heat which will be accepted, taken by the bottoming cycle, and it will create some amount of work which is W3, and then ultimately heat will be dumped to T min, the minimum temperature. So, this is the arrangement. If we can do this, then we are coming close to a cycle combining all these things, which is having a very large Tmax and low T min. And at the same time, the practical difficulty of having a single cycle which will operate from Tmax to T min, that we have avoided. So, this is called combined cycle. So, combined cycle is a very useful concept, it is practically viable, and we are having many examples of combined cycle. So, where we can have much higher efficiency. So, it is good from the point of view of energy conservation, and at the same time one can take or one can look into the combined cycle, the concept of combined cycle as a waste heat recovery device. Why? Because the heat which is rejected from the topping cycle is taken by, is utilized by, is recovered by the bottoming cycle or by the intermediate cycle. So, this is also a heat recovery device. So, that is why we like to spend some time on combined cycle. But if we have to do combined cycle, or if we have to have a good combined cycle, then what is the requirement? There are two requirements. Generally, I have shown for example 3 cycles, but the application of 2 cycles, one of them is a topping cycle and another is a bottoming cycle, that is very common. So, what we need to have a good combined cycle? Individual cycles should be efficient, each individual cycle should be very efficient, and then good matching between the cycles. What does it mean? It means cold end of the topping cycle should match very well with the hot end of the bottoming cycle. So, let me read it once again. Combined cycle, if we have to have a very good combined cycle, then individual cycles should be very efficient, and then there should be a good matching. So, this is thermal matching. We will see it in details as we proceed. So, there should be a good match between the cold end of the topping cycle and the hot end of the bottoming cycle. So, let us say if we take this figure. So, this is the cold end of the cycle at the top and this is the hot end of the cycle at below. So, they should match properly. What I mean by matching, that we will demonstrate, I mean that we will elaborate as we proceed. So, with this, let me start with a common power cycle, that is vapor power cycle. Most common vapor power cycle. That is your Rankine cycle ideal cycle for steam power plant. So, first we like to discuss the most common vapor power cycle, that is Rankine cycle, which is ideal cycle for steam power plant. Both fossil fuel and nuclear power can be used as the source, as the thermal reservoir for steam power plant. Even it is possible to have steam power plant with some renewables. So, this is very important, and a large portion of the world power that is generated by steam power plant. So, this is very important. This is very important in general for conversion of energy for generation of power. This is also important because the potential of waste heat recovery, which is related to steam power cycle. So, let us first start with a schematic diagram of the steam power plant. So, steam power plant will have a boiler. So, this is what I have drawn, this is the boiler, and the boiler, it will have thermal energy due to combustion of fuel plus air. So, hot gas and of course, radiation heat that is responsible for supplying the thermal energy. From there we get the supply of thermal energy. Then a liquid that is sent to the boiler. This liquid initially it is in the subcooled range or subcooled region, then it gets into vapor stage, and then from there we get saturated vapor, which is converted into superheated steam for most of the practical cycles, and then this steam has got the capacity to do certain amount of work. So, in the boiler I have shown 3 parts 1, 2 and 3, and there I will write somewhere. One is called economizer, 2 is evaporator, and 3 is superheater. So, superheated steam we get, all right, and then this gas comes out and then it goes to a chimney or stack. This is atmosphere. So, this is stack. Then what is happening from this side? This superheated vapor or steam, which is also at a high pressure, that goes into a turbine, and in the turbine it expands. So, when it expands, it rotates the turbine shaft, through which generation of electricity is possible. So, we get electric power. And then what happens to this steam? At the end of the boiler, the steam is at low temperature and low pressure. So, this steam is now condensed, and the condensate, which is in liquid condition, but at low pressure. So, that is pumped with the help of a pump to send it again to the boiler. So, the additional components, let us write. This is turbine, this is generator, this is condenser, and this is feed pump. Boiler is fed with this pump. So, this is called feed pump, and we can put some numbers over here. If we put the numbers, let us start from the turbine. So, if we put 1 over here, this denotes the state of the working fluid at the entry of the turbine. 2 denotes the state of the working fluid at the exit of the turbine. 3 denotes the state after the working fluid is condensed. 4 after the pump raises the pressure of the condensate or liquid water. 5 is the state when liquid water is heated in the single phase condition, its temperature is increased and it reaches almost the saturation state. Then 6 is the condition of the working fluid when it is evaporated. So, now the working fluid is in the vapor state, and then this vapor is taken and its temperature is further increased, that it goes into the superheated region, and that is your condition 1. So, at that condition it goes to the turbine. So, this is how we will have the physical working of or physical change of state of the working fluid, and this cycle will continue. Now, if we represent it on a thermodynamic plane, the convenient plane is your T s plane. Generally, we do analysis based on per unit mass. So, I have written S and temperature. So, this is the two phase dome, because during the working of Rankine cycle, the working fluid is partially it is liquid, at some part of the cycle it is liquid, somewhere it is a mixture of liquid and vapor, and somewhere it is vapor. So, we will have this kind of a figure. So, 1 to 2 turbine, 2 to 3, that is within the condenser, and it is condensed and it has gone to the saturated liquid condition. 3 to 4 is the pump, where there is an increase in pressure. 4 to 5 temperature is increased for the liquid water. 5 to 6 evaporation process. So, at 6 we are having saturated vapor, and 6 to 1 this is superheating. So, what we can show now, this is the heat addition to the Rankine cycle in the boiler. This is the heat rejection by the Rankine cycle to the cooling water in the condenser. Here we need to supply some work W pump, that we need to supply, and from here we will get W turbine, that is the work done by the cycle. So, this is an ideal Rankine cycle. This is reversible, internally reversible Rankine cycle, and this is the basis of all steam power plant. Now, I like to stop over here, and in the next class, in the next lecture, I like to see, or we would see what will be the efficiency of such a cycle. And then we will see what are the points where we are having loss of energy, how energy conversion can be made more efficient, and then how the cycle can be modified to have better efficiency, that also we will try to find out. Thank you.